hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 159 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron. Totally thrilled that you're here today talking to fellow New Zealander. I like to brag. Steff Green. She's a real New Zealander. I'm a New Zealander by matrilineal heritage. She is absolutely phenomenal. You may recognize her name from being covered in the media. She's one of those people that the media writes about and they say, writing is not dead. Being a writer, you can make money. Look at this woman and what she's doing. She is also fantastically lovely and so joyful about writing that she truly left me with a yearning to get to the page as soon as possible. So I know that you will enjoy her. And what's going on around here? I'm just writing. I'm struggling a little bit to write. There were 2 days this week where I just did not get as many words done as I wanted for different reasons. Migraine / excuse, insert excuse here. So I'm fighting a little bit of that, not a lot of it. But this time of year is just so frantically packed with things that have to happen. Plus my car broke down. Plus the dog is really, really sick. And we've spent almost $2,000 at the vet this week. So that's been taking up some time. But again, like I said, that is merely an excuse, and we all have excuses. So I like to say that here and proclaim to you my intention to get back to the page better and bigger and with a intent heart. There's also the problem that I know that I'm not in the right place in my book. I'm going too slow and I need to pick up the pacing. Not necessarily the pace, but the pacing. And if it helps at all to know, the way I deal with that is I stop doing what I'm doing in whatever scenes I'm doing it. Our guts are often right. And if they say you're not doing X right, sometimes that's just you panicking. But sometimes your gut is really telling you, "Ooh, no, you've got to move on here. You're spending too much time in this particular scene or in this cluster of scenes." So what I do in that case is I skip ahead just a little bit. I'm a very linear writer, but I do allow myself to skip forward to the next place that is of high interest to me. And I know where that is, and I'm going to start there today with the full intention of writing scenes to connect the last scene that I wrote with this scene that I'm writing today, and with the full knowledge that oftentimes I don't have to do that. Later on when I come back in revision, I'll be able to see the way to connect that last spot to this spot. Oftentimes it means deleting the last thing that I was writing, getting rid of that scene. It wasn't useful to me. And for that reason, it was a good idea not to go on writing it, not to go on swimming in that nebulous sea of non-motion and get back into the action. My biggest challenge when it comes to writing is inserting plot, because I can write characters and emotions all day long, and plot takes a back seat. And when you're writing a thriller, the plot really needs to be there. So today I'm kicking the plot in the caboose. But my goddaughter is also coming into town for the holidays, and so I'm going to go pick her up from the airport soon. So there's all sorts of commotion, and I really want to be very dedicated to how I look at my work and how I get it done. Quick thanks to new patrons, Candace Floyd. Thank you very much, Candace. And thank you to the amazingly named Dahlia von Dolenberg. I bet it's Dahlia von Dolenberg. She edited her pledge up to the point at which she gets to ask the questions for those mini episodes that I've been recording, that I've been loving recording. In another business note, very soon I will be announcing not only 90 Days to Done, which is the online class that I teach in which you go through writing a book from beginning to end, either a novel or a memoir. But I think I'm also going to offer 90-day revision at the same time, because there are often groups of people that want totally different things. They want to do their revision of a novel or a memoir in 90 days, or they want to write and then that makes them wait. This is going to be an experiment. in managing my time. This will be the first and possibly only time that I offer both of the classes at the same time. The potential I see here happening is kind of doubling my work and getting the same amount of students in it, so that it might be a good time for you to try it because it might be smaller class. Although, boy, these classes turn out to be wonderful. They're not usually over 12 people. So if you're interested in that, just make sure you're signed up for my email newsletter list. I will announce it there and in my Slack channels first. The reason why I'm not announcing it right now is I don't quite know exactly when I'm going to be offering it. January is completely off the table as I'm traveling for most of January. So I think I'm going to start the first week of February. And it's 3-month course, and people write their books in the 90 days to done class, and they revise their books in 90-day revision. They do the first major revision. One revision, of course, is not enough to make your book into the best shape to send out to an agent or to hire an editor if you're self-publishing. But the big first revision is the hardest mountain to tackle. Everything else after that is much easier, so we do that together. So if you're interested in that, just make sure you're on my mailing list, rachaelherron.com/write, or in my Slack channel, which I will provide a link in the show notes at howdowowrite.net, so you can always go check that out and join, so you will be notified. That is all the business I have. Let's get into Steff Green's interview. I'm just so pleased to share it with you. You're going to have so much fun listening to this, and I know you're going to come away inspired and ready to take action in your own writing. So happy writing to you, my friends, and we'll talk soon. Well, I could not be more pleased to welcome to the show today Steff Green. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
How are you?
I am very good. How are you, Rachel?
I'm excellent this afternoon to talk to a fellow New Zealander. Let me give you a little bit of an intro here. Steff Green is a USA Today best-selling author of the paranormal, gothic, dark, and fantastical. Steff received the 2017 Attitude Award for Artistic Achievement and was a finalist for a 2018 Women of Influence Award. Her books are enjoyed by thousands of readers all over the world. When she's not writing, you can find her hanging out with her husband and cat horde, or tearing up the mosh pit at a heavy metal show. Steff is the author of How to Rock Self-Publishing and the founder of Rage Against the Manuscript, community for writers looking to level up their career. Oh my goodness, I have not been in a mosh pit for maybe 20 years. And I believe I fell that time. So.
Oh, no.
That's excellent. I love that. That might be how you get some of your emotion out. Yeah, so fabulous. I would love to talk to you about your writing process and how you get all this done. Can you tell me a little bit about when and where and how much and all of that?
I certainly can. So I guess, I think, so when I started writing and publishing, I was one of those people who, I worked on my first book for kind of like 5 years, tinkering with it and changing little things and, figuring out how to actually do the thing. And I sort of got a bit, I finished that book and I'm like, yes, I finished something that's amazing. And then I immediately started the next book and because I think I was running on the high of finishing that first book. So the next book I finished in like 8 months or something. And, and then by the third book, I'd sort of down to 6 months. And when I first started writing, I was writing kind of this quite dark science fiction, kind of sort of steampunk, but on the science fiction side of steampunk rather than the fantasy side. And so I was doing all this kind of in-depth historical research, and I decided, if I've got to write about steam trains, I have to learn how a steam train works. So we went and husband and I went and volunteered at a steam locomotive depot, and they let me drive the train, and it was awesome.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And so I did all that kind of stuff. And then what sort of happened was I self-published those books because I had I had a publishing deal which fell through, and I was absolutely gutted. And so I had to find a way to get over that. And it was sort of around the time when lots of the big kind of names in self-publishing were talking about how awesome they were doing, and I was like, that sounds great. I would like a piece of that pie, please. Yeah, and so I self-published this sort of steampunk series, and it didn't do very well, but I was like completely addicted to this idea of holding my book in my hands and actually getting kind of feedback from actual readers instead of just kind of constantly beating my head against the wall with editors and agents, and just being able to take an idea and make it happen and then bring it to the market. It's just awesome. And around that time, I was starting to think, I wonder if maybe I would be interested in writing romance. And I didn't want to put it under my super serious science fiction name, so I invented a pen name, which I kept completely secret from everyone, including my husband.
Oh my goodness.
And I published I wrote this cute little sexy fox shapeshifter story. It was about the fox was an artist, and he fell in love with this gallery curator, and there was a big shifter war, and it was like a 32,000 word novella. And I wrote it in about 3 weeks, and it just poured out of me. It was just, it was 4,000 words a day. I was just having so much fun. And I thought, well, I'll put it up and, it'll sell 2 copies, and I'll laugh about it later. And I put it up and it sold 1,000 copies in a week.
Oh my goodness.
And it was amazing. And I sort of had to kind of sheepishly tell my husband that I'd sold these books, but it wasn't like my super serious. See, it was this fox shapeshifter book. And he sort of, when he stopped laughing, he said, are you going to write some more? And I was like, yes, I am going to write some more. And that was April, May 2015, and it's now 2019, nearly 2020, and I have 35 books. And most of them are paranormal romance. And I quit my day job in February 2018, so 2 years full time, and it is the most fun I could ever imagine having, and I never want to quit, and I never want to go back. So
isn't it the best? I quit my day job I guess 3.5 years ago, and it is every single day I get up and I cannot believe that I get to do this. This is a job.
I know.
I just get to make stuff up, and it's the best. And and with what the other stuff that you do, we get to help writers too, which I think is a really big part of this process. So that's fantastic. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to writing?
So I have, I guess, some interesting challenges. So I'm actually legally blind, which is why my eyes kind of do this wonky thing that they do, and I sort of look off to the side a bit. So I'm actually legally blind, and it's quite interesting because one of the reasons I sort of fell into writing was because I was kind of gatekeepered out of my previous career that I wanted to have, which was archaeology. Basically because people don't think you can have a blind archaeologist, and I'm fairly certain you can, but it's trying to convince people that I was good at what I did, even though I knew I was good at what I did. So I kind of got gatekeepered out of that, and a lot of the reason I pursued writing, which was always a thing I loved, was because I felt as though it was an industry where people couldn't tell me that I couldn't do it. And I found that has been the case. I'm obviously doing it, so it's obviously fine. But there are some challenges with having an eye condition like me, and writing books that we are trying to make things kind of appeal to universally to readers. So I was having a conversation with a friend the other day who just finished reading one of my books, and he said, it's really interesting that you don't actually describe characters very much, the way they look. And because kind of looking at at it and thinking, yes, actually that's true. I don't really do that. And part of that is because, when I meet people, and because I write romance, when I, find people attractive or when I fall in love with them, it's not really what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of I don't articulate the way people look as kind of as a thing that is particularly interesting. But I do describe smells a lot and things like that. And so it's quite interesting. I have to kind of go back and I have to stop and I have to go, no, if he's a sexy vampire, he has to look sexy. So let's just spend some time talking about how sexy he is.
That's fascinating. I also leave that out just because I forget. I'm not that interested in it either. And I prefer to fall in love with my characters, who they are. And it is one of the wonderful things about romance is that we get to fall in love with these people all over again, all the time. We're constantly falling in love. And yet we remain with our partners, our primary partners, and we get to have all these affairs on the page. I love that. Yeah, exactly. What is your biggest joy when it comes to writing?
It's kind of all joyful. I mean, I love the actual process of, taking a story that's in my head and mashing the keys and putting it on the page like that is just wonderful and freeing and joyful and amazing. But I think particularly recently, as I've been getting a bit more popular, the response I get from readers, it's just been, when I get fan mail and things that I just cry. It's just amazing. But particularly, I've got one series, which is kind of a fan favorite. And the main character is going blind through the series. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of readers who contact me and say, because obviously it's kind of built a little bit on my experience, and I have a lot of readers who contact me and say, I've never read a character who's blind before. I'm going blind, or I've been blind my whole life, or I've been vision impaired, and it's just so cool to read a book about a heroine who's like me, who gets her happily ever after. And she doesn't get healed halfway through the book. She doesn't miraculously become sighted again. She gets to be she's an awesome chick. She gets to be an awesome chick and be blind and get not just one guy, but 3 guys. And it's awesome.
You're literally changing the world.
Trying to.
Legit. Do you have any plans for a blind archaeologist book? To stick it to the gatekeepers? I don't know, actually. I've done a couple of books with archaeologists. I definitely have a lot more plans for a lot more blind and vision impaired characters. Mm-hmm. It's really neat to kind of explore sort of what that's meant for me in my life and how I can take that to characters, and how just knowing that there's a desire from readers. Yes.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Can you share a craft tip of any sort with us?
I can try. So for me, one of the things I've been learning a lot as I've been writing more and more books is the importance of you have the main character, and in romance we're usually talking about the female main character, but we're also we've got that dual there's two main characters or 2 or more main characters. So you've got this main character, and they have a desire in the book that they want to achieve, and there's all these obstacles that are standing in their way, and then at the end of the book they either achieve the thing or they don't achieve the thing, and that's plot. Mm-hmm. In a nutshell. But the really important thing, which sometimes is missed a bit in plotting, is that character has to be a different person at the beginning of the book and at the end of the book. And it's the process of striving for that goal, and usually realizing halfway through or 3/4 of the way through that thing is actually not the thing that they want. It's that process, and it's bashing up against the other characters who all have their own goals and their own internal challenges, and that's what changes the person, and it's that process of changing and growing that is actually the thing that readers really love. Like you could almost take out the external stuff and you'd still have an exciting book because of that internal battle.
I absolutely love that. And it took me so long to figure that out as a writer.
Yeah, me too. I was always like plot, 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 all this twist, all that twist, and I've kind of pared back over the years, and I'm still pretty well known for crazy twists and evil cliffhangers and things like that. But yeah, it's that internal growth that really excites the readers, and they're the ones I'm writing for. So got to give them what they want.
I love that. I'm reading. Have you read Holly Black's The Cruel Prince?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm reading that right now, and watching Jude change in the first book is just riveting.
It's just a stunning writer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. What thing in your life affects your writing in a surprising way?
Kind of talked a little bit about that with the eyesight.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I do a lot of traveling by myself and with my husband, and that's a very big influence on my writing. And often it's the things that I don't, I'll often go to a place because I have there's a thing I want to see because I think I'm going to put that in a book, and often it's not a thing at all, but it's something completely different that's going to end up in a book. Good example, I guess, is there's a couple. We recently went to Romania for a couple of weeks because I'm writing a series with a character, vampire series, because of course, which is partly set in Romania with one of the main characters is Romanian, and so I kind of wanted to learn a bit more about the country and kind of a bit more about it beyond, this is where Vlad Tepes came from, kind of thing. And one of the goals, one of the things we wanted to do more than anything was go to the specific castle in the middle of Romania because it's the one where Vlad the Impaler kind of did a bit of his last stand, and it's not the super famous castle. It's kind of a ruin, and it's a bit hard to get to, so not that many people go. And we were, I was like, this is my main research thing. I've got to get to this castle. And then we get to Romania, and we discover that you can't. They've closed the castle. You can't go to this castle.
Oh no!
Because the reason is awesome. Because a mother bear, and her cubs have taken up residence in the castle.
That's gorgeous.
It's beautiful. And so they have got this epic castle ruins, just for themselves.
I tell you what, if that had happened in America, they would have shot the bear.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that they did that.
Yeah, in Romania, they're like, no, just no tourists at the castle. Just, and so instead of the castle being in the book, this bear is going to be in the book, and it's completely changed, a major plot thing that I had going on, but for the better.
And you never could have landed on that had you not gone. It never would have crossed your mind. Did you know that they have a Dracula con in Transylvania? Have you seen that? Yeah.
Yes.
One of my academic friends went recently to present a paper, and I just think that's so very, very cool. Oh, that's wonderful. What is the best book that you've read recently, and why did you have it?
I actually got it here.
Oh, gorgeous cover.
Yeah, it's stunning. So I read, for a romance writer, I read quite a lot outside of romance. Kind of similar reason why I travel a lot, because you just never know when things are going to coalesce into one idea. And so this book is called Finding the Plot: 100 Graves to Visit Before You Die. And my husband bought it for me when we visited the Highgate Cemetery in London, which is this beautiful old Victorian cemetery. And this was at the gift shop. And I'm a bit of a goth, and I love cemeteries, and I love stories about interesting graves, and what's so cool about this book is that they're all graves in England, and they're really fascinating stories. And it kind of gives you not just the stories about the people, but also kind of about funerary culture and you know how cemeteries work and kind of Victorian funerary customs, and it's just super fascinating. And I've already got like half a page of notes of things that I'm gonna, you know, they're gonna be in books, or one day might be in books.
Absolutely. What a place to leap from. And I have a list of like 3 people that I need to get that book for now, including
Yeah.
myself. That's wonderful. Thank you. I've never heard of that. Would you now tell us a little bit about yourself, where we can find you? And I would love it if you told us about your most recent book or series.
So, okay, where you can find me. So, I have a website for my fiction, which is steffmetal, steffmetal.com. And I'm mostly on Facebook and in my private readers group, and on Instagram under Steff Metal again. Probably so. So I publish about once a month, so I have a lot of.
Oh my goodness.
But one series this is the one that's kind of a reader favorite at the moment.
Oh, gorgeous.
And it's called the Nevermore Bookshop series, a Nevermore Bookshop mystery series. And so it's basically like, it's like Agatha Christie crossed with black books, with lots of sexy times in it.
Nice. Are they set in New Zealand?
No. So these are set in a bookshop in England.
Okay.
And the bookshop is a little bit magical, and it makes fictional characters come to life. And so the main characters' love interests are Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights.
Oh my goodness.
James Moriarty from Sherlock Holmes, and Quoth, the Raven from Edgar Allan Poe, and he's actually a shapeshifter.
What a brilliant concept.
And yeah, and so every book they solve a mystery, and all the book titles are like book murdery puns. And there's 4 books out in that series at the moment. Plus, I don't have it in paperback, but I've just released a Christmas novella called How Heathcliff Stole Christmas, which is making people really happy. So.
That's such a great title. Well, I think I have to backtrack for a moment and ask, how do you get a book done a month? What does the process look like for you?
But for that, so what do? My goal is 4,000 words a day, 2,000 words in the morning, 2,000 words after lunch. And sometimes I don't need it, but usually I will set a timer. And I'll set the timer for 20 minutes, and I can just do sort of about 500 to 700 words in 20 minutes. So theoretically, I can get my 2,000 words done in about an hour and a half, but that never actually happens.
And are you dictating or typing?
I type.
Yeah.
I type. And I learned to type when I was quite young, so I'm relatively fast.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of a pantser. I used to say I don't really outline, but what I've come to realize is that actually the first draft of my book, which is a super rough kind of 20,000 word draft, is actually an outline. It's basically a rough, here's a chapter, this is what happens. It's a lot of dialogue, not a lot of description, absolutely no character descriptions. And then I race off that draft in about a week, and it gets all my ideas down. And then I go back and I finesse it a bit, and then it ends up being about 50,000 words, and then I go back and I make it pretty. And that adds another. Most of my books are between 75,000 and 100,000 words.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I published 11 books this year, but I did go to Europe to travel for 6 weeks. If I hadn't done that, I probably would have hit 12.
I'm happy when I hit 2 a year or 3 a year.
It's just much, we don't have any kids. It's sort of just me and my husband. And it's just so much fun. So I kind of, I used to try and write 1,000 words a day, and then it was 2,000 words. And, now if if I only did 2,000 words, I'd be like, what am I going to do for the rest of the day? So, I've got more story to write. So, yeah, it's just,
Yeah, I find that so inspiring because I find 4,000 hard to hit every day on a regular basis, and I've just gone back to 2,000 words a day. But when you say it like that, I think, yes, that is the point. That's why I want to write 4,000 words a day when I do, because there's so much story that I want to tell. And I want to get it done so that I can tell the next book.
yep.
So,
Yep.
well, I find you an absolute delight and very inspirational. Where else can readers find you? Would you want to tell us a little bit about Rage Against the Manuscript?
Yes, I do. So, Rage Against the Manuscript is a new project that I am in the process of launching. And it is so we've got a Facebook group called Rage Against the Manuscript. We're the only Facebook group called that, so pretty easy to find. And it's just a group of writers. You can go on there. Most people are self-published or thinking about self-publishing, but not everybody. And we talk about writing. We kind of do like sprints and goals together. We talk a lot about marketing, and people share, this is what's working for me, or here's advertising what's not working. I put a lot of kind of case studies up about things that I've done. So, for instance, I recently had a book bub, and I put up a bunch of posts about, here's how that did over the days.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of see in real time. So that's part of it, and I'm just about to launch the website, which is www.rageagainstthemanuscript.com. And that's got a whole bunch of free articles about writing and self-publishing and kind of what I've done, and it's also got a couple of short guides for writers. There's a free one. There's one about writing romance, and it's got my new book, which is coming out, called How to Rock Self-Publishing, which is a full, complete, nuts and bolts. Here, you've got a manuscript. Here's how to publish it. Here's how to finesse it. And then here's how to market it and grow an audience, with the idea of, eventually maybe quitting your job and being a writer full time. And so that book's coming out soon. And if you want to get on a list to get a copy of it, it's kind of a bit, it's like taking all the self-publishing information that's out there and kind of coalescing it into one, and then kind of giving it a bit of a punk rock twist. So
I love this. I cannot wait to get my hands on this.
It's really fun. So if you're interested in getting a copy when it comes out, just go to www.rageagainstthemanuscript.com/how-to-rock, and you can sign up there, and then I'll just send you an email when it's live.
Perfect. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to read that. I am always interested in leveling up my own game as well. So, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. This has been fabulous. And I wish you very, very, very happy writing going forward. And I will be keeping my eye on your work.
Thank you.
So thank you, Steff, so much. Have a wonderful day. Okay. Bye.